concerning project number 2, and I have so many requests to make the same video that I made for the first project. So I'm going to attempt to do the same thing. Hopefully this will help you accomplish your project number 2. So this project will focus on chapter 14, linear regression. So your task is to go to StatCrunch. So I'm going to go to StatCrunch. Go to the StatCrunch website. You want to go to data, and here the goal here is to select data with quantitative variables. Okay, so you have to have at least 2 columns that are quantitative. Now again, we have more than 31,081 data, so that's a lot of data to choose from. So I'm gonna select random data and then do the project, so you can follow through. So let me see what to select here. I have body temperature. Okay, let me just select body temperature. So I'm going to click on the data, and here I have 3 columns here. I have a column for gender, body temperature. Of course, the column for gender is qualitative variables. It's not quantitative. But body temperature are numbers, meaning it's a quantitative variables. And here I have a column titled heart rates, which is also quantitative numbers. So here I'm going to select these variables. I'm going to select this data set. Let me see how many, what the sample size. It go all the way down through 130. So the cell go all the way to 130. Okay, so I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to use this data set to create a regression analysis. So the first thing you want to do here is to you have to make a decision about which column you're going to use as your independent variables and which column you're going to use as your dependent variables, right? So again, it's your call. So whichever one you want to decide. Of course, I'm going to be working with body temperature and heart rates, okay, because those are the only quantitative variables. Gender is qualitative, so I cannot choose it, of course. So here I'm going to go to stats, and I'm going to go to regression, and I'm going to select. Well, before I do that, I want to save this data set. So how do you save it? You go to data, and you want to click on save. Okay, you want to click on save. Okay, so again, body temperature. So you just come here and click save. Okay, so the data is saved under my data folder. So you want to, because we're going to use it again, but for now it's saved. So next we're going to go to stats, and you want to go to linear. You want to go to regression, and then sample linear regression. Now here for my X variables, I'm going to choose heart rates. Again, it's your call here. But for the sake of this example, I'm going to use heart rate as my X variables or my independent variables. And for the Y, I'm going to use body temperature for my dependent variables. Okay, and here I'm going to click compute. Okay, and once I click compute, remember you have two pages. So the first page gives us the summary of the linear regression. So I have the R, the coefficient of the correlation coefficient, and I have R square, the coefficient of determination. So all of those things I'm going to use it on my analysis. So here you want to come here also and then save it under our result, right? So this will be saved as a simple linear regression. So I can save it. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the second page. I want to save this this linear regression line slash scatter plot. Okay, so I'm going to save it. Also has my result number 2. So this is sample linear regression. I can call it a linear regression and scatter plot. Because I will use them later. And here I can just click save. Okay, so I save the data set, I save the summary of my regression analysis, the regression equation, and the scatter plot. So next I want to go back to StatCrunch, right? Well, before I go back to StatCrunch, I've already created my introduction, because I've looked at this for the sake of time here. I've looked up this data, I created my introduction, and the introduction, what the introduction should contain is your data. You have to describe the data set, describe the sample size, and mention where the data set was obtained. Okay, so I've done that here. So I've said that the the body temperature data set is from data set shared by StatCrunch members. So those are the data set that is on StatCrunch. It is shared by members. It's a total of 130 male and female recorded body temperature and their respective heart rates. Okay, in this project I will consider body temperature as my dependent variables or response variables y, and heart rates has the independence or the predictor variables. So what I will do here, I will just come here and I'll copy this introduction I've created already. Okay, again, the project will give some information about what to include in the introduction. So next you want to go to the main page of StatCrunch, and you want to create a report the same way we did it in project number 1. You go to my StatCrunch, you go to my report, right? My report, and you click on my report. Okay, so as you can see here, I've created this report, but let me click on it so I'll walk you through it to show you how I did it. Okay, so again, the title of the report should be your initial, your first name, your first initial of your first name, and then your last name. So I, Guy. Okay, and then project 2. So this is our project number 2. And here, share with everyone, you can check no, because you don't want to share it with everyone. And then here the first thing I'm gonna put on the body of my report, I'm gonna put my name. So this is my name, and then I'm gonna put introduction. And this introduction is the introduction I made using my Word document. So I created the introduction already, so I put it on Word documents. Now here, right after your introduction, you want to remember how you want to insert your data set. So you hit shift and the comma key, and you hit data one, right? This is data 1, right? And you hit enter, again shift and the comma key, result 1, okay, and then result 2. Okay, now for dataset 1, remember I saved the dataset. I'm gonna go all the way down to dataset. Again, once you scroll on dataset, again it's body temperature. So once you select body temperature, it's gonna generate here. Okay, and for the result 1, again the reason why you see this information here, because I've already done it. But if you click regression line, okay, what did I call it again? I think I call it linear regression and scatter plot. Yeah, it's right here. Okay, and for result 2, I just called it simple linear regression. So this is it, result 2. Okay, so on my report, right after the introduction, you're gonna see the data set I selected. The result 1 was the scatter plot and the linear regression line, and the result 2 was the regression equation, you know, R and R squared. Okay, and next I'm gonna go to my Word documents and copy also the analysis and the conclusions. I'm gonna copy them all. Okay, and I'm gonna go back to my report and I'm gonna paste it here. So as you can see, it is already pasted. So I just and what the analysis mentioned is this. So here I use the information I got from the report, because if you go back to the report, okay, here I have a sample, of course, of 130. I have the regression equation, so body temperature, which is my Y value, equals 96.306754. But in your project, they're going to ask you to round to 4 places. So here the regression will be 96.3068, because I have a 5 here, so 3068 plus 0.0263 x. So here my x is the heart rate, again that's my independent variables, and my y is body temperature. So that's my that it will be my regression equation. So my r, or the correlation coefficient, is 0.2536, but because I have a 5, I will have 0.2537. So we're gonna round to 4 places here. Okay, now the R square is the coefficient of determination, is 0.0643. 0.0643. Okay, so here I'm gonna go back to my report. Okay, now for the analysis component, so here I'm going to talk about that. So I'm going to say I use StatCrunch to generate the following regression equation. So this is the regression equation I obtained from my result. So y equals 96.3068 plus 0.0263x. Again, x is heart rate and y is body temperature. As stated above, the independent variables is heart rate, so that's the x value, and the dependent variables is body temperature. Okay, so you have to make it clear in your analysis. The coefficient of determination, R square, is 0.0643 or 6.43%. I multiply this by 100. Okay, so here I will explain what it means. Okay, so evidently heart rate is not useful for predicting body temperature, because only 6.43% of the variation in the observed body temperature is explained by the regression of body temperature on heart rates. Remember, so that's the analysis you can make here using R square, the coefficient of determination. And here I also mentioned that the linear correlation coefficient R is 0.2537. Again, I rounded to 4 places. So that suggests a weak positive linear correlation between heart rate and body temperature. Okay, so remember, we say when it's positive, okay, when your R is positive and it's close to 0, is very weak. So 0.2 is very weak. Okay, so in fact it indicates that as heart rate increases, there is a weak tendency for body temperature to increase. Okay, it also implies that the regression equation is not useful for making prediction. Also, the value of R suggests that data points are essentially scattered about a horizontal line, okay, which is a weak or an absence of linear relationship between the variables heart rate and body temperature. So those are the analysis that you can use. Okay, you can create in your body. And finally, the conclusion. Here, the conclusions, we're supposed to summarize the information that we already put in our body. So here, the summary is the data used in this project was about human heart rates and body temperature. Okay, and the sample size was 130 male and females were used. Okay, so the independent variables or predictor variables was heart rate, and the response variables or dependent variables was body temperature. So a coefficient of determination R squared of 0.0643 and a linear correlation coefficient R of 0.2537 suggests that a linear regression should not have been used, okay, on this data set. In fact, only 6.43% of the variation in the observed body temperature is explained by the regression. Okay, in addition, 0.2537 linear correlation coefficients, okay, a very low positive value close to zero suggests a weak positive linear correlation. So that was the conclusion of the analysis. So here we reinstated what we already said in the body pretty much. And let's go back here. I want to mention how, because I want the data set to be positioned at this space. So here you want to be specific, right? So data set 1 is supposed to be used here. So this will be the data value. Result 1, so this will be the scatter plot, and result 2, this will be the R and R square and the statistics on your linear regression. And once you finish doing that, I went on and add a flicker. Okay, so here what I've done for the flicker, I just type, heart rate. Okay, I type heart rate, and I this image pop up, and then I saved it. Okay, so once you do that, you come here and you save your report. And once you save your report, again, the body temperature data set will be positioned here under the data set 1. You scroll down. Here I have my linear regressions and scatter plot. Okay. You scroll down. You have your sample linear regression information. This is the regression equation, and this is the R and R square. Okay. You scroll down, and you have the analysis here. Okay. So the analysis, I have 2 paragraphs on my analysis, and then I have a conclusions on my analysis. So that's pretty much what you've been asked to do in project number 2. It has a little bit more stuff compared to project number 1, but that's what is going to be required. Now the final step here will be to go under, I'm using Chrome here, so I'm going to go under print. I'm not going to print it, I'm just going to save it as a PDF. So here you can, if you don't have this by default, you can click save as PDF, and then you want to save it. Okay, if you have a flash drive, you can save it on your flash drive, but here I choose to save it on my desktop. Okay, so I save it under GUI project 2 on StatCrunch. I can just put project 2. I can add linear regression, for instance. Okay, and then I saved it. So this is under my desktop. Okay, I can go back to my desktop and open it, or I can go to Blackboard and then submit my project on Blackboard. Okay, so let's see how I think that's so. Let's just try to open it to see how the project look like on the PDF format. So if I open my PDF format, as you can see, this is the title of the project. Okay. I scroll down. This is also the titles. This is my name. So your name should be listed. Introduction. You introduce your data set and your variables, your independent variables and dependent variables. So this is the data set number 1. You scroll down, so this is the data set. As you can see here, the StatCrunch won't display all 130 data set. It will just display up to 23, which is good, you know, because if they were to display the 130 data set, it will be a very long documents. We don't want to do that too, you know. And then here under result 1, we have a linear regression scatter plot. So this is it. So this is a linear regression scatter plot. It showed the scatter plots and the actual regression line. Okay. And under result 2, we have the sample linear regression. So here we have the dependent variables, which is body temperature, the independent variables, heart rates, and this is the regression equations, and R square. And finally here we have our analysis. Okay, as you can see, you have the analysis. I put 2 paragraphs on the analysis, and finally I put a conclusion which summarizes what I mentioned during the analysis. Okay, so this is exactly how your final project should look like. And then the last step, of course, is to go to Blackboard and then upload your project. Okay, so I hope this video will help you do well on your project too. And if you still have questions, you can, feel free to come by my office. We'll talk about it. All right, so I will upload the project on Blackboard so you can read the detailed instruction. Okay, thank you.